All right. So, Rusty, tell me, how did you think that lesson went today?
I think it went pretty well. As far as like learning environments go, all the students at first were whole group learning on the carpet, and then when they went back to their seats, they were working more with their partners to and helping each other out to understand like the skill.
Yeah, I really like seeing that partner work between the kids. I can tell that you're really working hard on creating that classroom community of having kids work with a partner. I didn't hear any moaning or groaning when you said, turn to your partner and say this sentence. All the kids were very dialed in and engaged in that. So I can tell that you are creating a really good environment in here for that, because they're ready to work together, and it didn't really matter who it was. So that was really good. Tell me more about, how do you think you can, on that standard of creating a positive learning environment, they ask you like to involve the family. So have you thought of any ways to do that? Or, because that could, I don't know, tell me what you think about that.
So I think I could give probably more you know I don't know. So I guess
It's a hard one. It's
yeah.
really hard because you, as much as you want to involve the family, you have standards and things you have to teach anyways. So that can be an out of the box thing. Was what I'm just curious how you think you might get to that.
And I could do some things like, ask them to do more like, and I could focus this around technology, do some tech, because, we don't have technology in the classroom,
Mm-hmm.
do some technology with their parents at home, and then come back and tell the class what tools they used,
Oh, I like
how
that
it
idea. That's a neat
worked. So,
idea. And there are so many good apps out there. I know a lot of our kids might not have computers, but everybody seems to have a smartphone.
mhm.
So that could be something, maybe you could do a little bit of research and offer like a couple different apps or things that you know are on the internet to work with your kid at home, and maybe get that to the families and see if anybody's doing it. And then ask the kids.
That's
That's a neat idea.
Well, yeah, and to expand on that, that might be good because if they go home, find some stuff with their parents, and then come back, share with the class, so then they could go home and do it with their
Yeah, it gets
parents.
people,
So,
gets them
mhm.
excited,
Yeah.
and if they're doing things at home to learn, we're always happy about that. When I go to the next part of this standard, it talks about creating a student-centered classroom. So, how do you feel about that? Tell me more.
So mostly that means to me that the kids are more interacting, teaching each other, and I'm acting more as like a facilitator and helping them learn, but they are really teaching each other and expanding like their knowledge by working with each other. So, that's kind of the environment I try to create with, the group learning on the carpets, with morning meetings, them growing that sense of community, getting used to the class and comfortable with talking with one another. That way, when it's time to learn, they're already comfortable and they can start teaching each other, and they don't feel stupid if they don't know the answer, and they feel comfortable going to a friend to discuss it.
So, part of that standard is that the students are making some decisions on their learning, and they're deciding what they want to know about. I wonder if you could maybe incorporate that into your morning meetings to maybe see what their interests are, to kind of put it back on them. If you could, you know, learn about anything, what would that be? To maybe figure out their interests? Because I know it's really hard when you have standards to teach, but if you can kind of find those, that you can work those interests into the standard, read stories about those topics,
Okay.
maybe something like that.
So, like for example, for reading, if they were like, "Oh, I want to read like this story or find out about like nonfiction, like
Mm-hmm.
I want to know about this particular topic," so things like that.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I think so, because and really we just want our kids reading, and I think the more that we can have them start to have interest in things and to learn about things and know, um, to like, the hardest thing is to have a kid want to read on their own without you telling them it's time to read. So when we want to establish that love for reading, that to want to learn more, to get more knowledge, and then it's also to learn that persistence, to be able to read longer things, the sustainability as they get older, and when they leave second grade, the passages get harder, they get longer, and for them to sustain themselves to read that long, to make sure they're understanding what they read, they have to actually like to read.
Okay.
So I think if we thought about more about what they're interested in and tried to work that into those standards, I think you'd see really good results with that.
Okay.
So tell me more about Um, the technology part. So what do you think? Like, 'cause I know we don't have devices for all the kids. What could we do about that?
So, I think I could do more whole group with technology because I could get on YouTube. I could create interactive games online that was up on the projector that they could use. I could. I have iPods. I have 4 iPods. I
Okay.
could get,
Maybe that could be like a station. Maybe when you
yeah.
start to do those smaller groups,
Hmm.
you could incorporate it as like a station.
And the games I have on them right now are like Hooked on Phonics and Homer, so that's going to be too low. It's for low kids.
Okay.
But if I got like math games put on them, then that would be a great math station.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I could get games like that put on them, and just make it a station.
Okay.
That's like maybe a 8-minute rotation or whatever. It's got it'd have to be quick, but because all kids need to get on it, but just make it a quick like 5-minute, 8-minute rotation.
It's even better because as when they leave second grade, if you want to think about their rest of their schooling, all their tests are on the computer after second grade. So getting them familiar with some of that, I think, would be really helpful for them as they go on too.
And that's next year. You kind of bring up a good point. As a second grade team, we really need to push to get these kids some computer time because they don't get computer time, and the school doesn't allow second grade computer time. But I think if they're going into third and they're testing on the computer and they have no idea how to use a computer,
right?
Like we just need to get there to teach them basics.
Even if you just got a copy of a keyboard, maybe, and just taught them certain things at the keyboard. I know just my fourth graders knew nothing. Like they don't know shift makes things a capital letter. Like it's the very basics that we're finding. Yeah, because if anything, they text, and texting is not correct spelling and correct English. So I think they actually do need that formal kind of training on a computer. Absolutely, that's a good idea. I would definitely pursue that further. The other part of this standard, and I would say that you're doing a really great job of this, is organize your classroom to manage your time effectively to maximize the learning environment. And you do a lot of things where you have the whole group on the floor, so it really helps with your management of the learning too, that you're keeping the kids on task. And then when you have them go back to their groups, you have them work in groups a lot, talk to their partners a lot, and that's going to maximize the learning too. So that when you're asking questions, really holding them all accountable to answering those questions. So that's really, when you have them in those groups, really think about that. Did I asked a question, how many of my kids were held accountable to answering that? And that's what those partners that you have them in, the groups of 4, is a really great way to really make sure everybody in your room is talking and answering the question and having something to say. And you've been working on that, and I can tell that the kids are doing well with that. The other part that I saw in here was also about your nonverbal and verbal communication that are respectful of their backgrounds. You're really respectful of their backgrounds. I don't think there's any issue with you not respecting the culture of your students. What I really liked, though, was you're holding them accountable and you being persistent in your procedures and routines and not really moving on and doing it in a way that isn't scary, that you didn't raise your voice, you're not yelling at them, you are telling them your expectations and you're waiting till they meet them. You're not lowering them and going down to theirs. You are showing with your body language, with a quick stare, with your high five call. So I think that those are all really great ways that you're getting their attention, but not in a demeaning manner. It's respectful, and it's just, and I like that you're being consistent with it. And that's really what the kids need to see you. They need to see you use your behavior plans and use your procedures and routines consistently. And if you're consistent in them, they will get on that bus a lot quicker and follow those.
We have 1 minute.
I think it was a good lesson. I think you're great with Standard 3.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.